If there's going to be a great deception, and there's going to be control of information. Now, this kind of information control has been very popular among Western European history. I know that it exists in other cultures and history and civilization, but it has been a hallmark of Western history. And so the Bible itself was chained by the Catholic Church for 1,000 years. It was not allowed to be translated, and those who tried to translate the Bible from Latin into the vernacular were literally boiled to death, hacked in pieces, tortured. When people talk about the Inquisition and they say, oh, Christians are also violent, wait a second. Inquisition was Catholics persecuting Christians. Inquisition wasn't Christian. Inquisition was about Christians being persecuted. Nothing's changed. So what were they doing? They were trying to control information. Then one of the people who stood up against this information control posted the first Google memo. If you don't know what Google memo is, I will explain it to you, but I'm just shock and awe how many Christians and how many people I talk to are not aware of Google memo. Should be the biggest news going on right now. The first Google memo was posted on the 31st of October, 1517. I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek, but it really was the pre-digital age Google memo. And we are now in 2017, which marks 500-year anniversary. Something's prophetic about that. 5 is the number of grace, 100 times grace. We've had 100 times opportunity of grace. Is it coming to a close? It's the anniversary. A Catholic monk named Martin Luther posted 95 theses to correct and revitalize the Catholic Church. His intention was not to upset the Catholic Church. His intention was revival, reformation. But instead, he basically got fired. Right? He's an agent of the Catholic Church. He gets fired. He gets excommunicated. And he flees for his life. Some of the German princes protect him. And it sparked, it's one of the events that sparked the Protestant Reformation. You and I would not be called Protestants unless this Google memo was posted in 1517. 95 points. And a lot of people are tired of writing just like 3 points for their school assignment. He wrote 95 points, and the common people loved it, ate it up. A lot of people want to lecture me about making YouTube videos short, otherwise people won't watch it. Well, we've got the most viral video about the American solar eclipse. No other Christian video is more viral, and it's almost an hour long. People aren't dumb. Don't treat people like they're dumb. They're hungry for information. They're hungry for the truth. When people find it, they will eat it up. So the common people who were supposedly uneducated back in those days read 95 different points. And they said, wow, this is what the Bible says? How come nobody told us this? Because the Catholic Church controlled the information. Now at this time, I don't think the Catholic Church does the same thing. So I don't want you to go around hating people. Right? You can't reach people hating them. A lot of Protestants are upset with it, and historically Protestants have a reason to be upset. Right? But I think they're not doing that anymore. So a lot of Catholics do love Jesus and follow Jesus today. So this is now the 2017 Google memo, 500 years later. This computer engineer, James Damore, wrote a Google memo to correct Google's left-wing bias with graphs, with facts, with evidence. He wasn't trying to destroy Google, he was trying to help Google. Well, what did Google do? Google immediately fired him. And I believe this rejection, just like they rejected Martin Luther and God turned it for good, I think God will turn this for good. Now, he's not a Christian. I don't think he fully understands the Christian roots of libertarian thinking, of freedom-loving people. You know, freedom flourishes in an environment where people are good. You can't create good society, good government without good people. So spirituality, Christianity, is at the root of freedom. He doesn't know that, but I think God's going to use him to lead a conservative revolution. Just like there was a Protestant Reformation. We're at the cusp of it now, and these are the things that we've been praying for. God, expose the corrupt, evil, power players. Expose the elite for the biases that they have. And it's happening right now. I am so excited. I really believe that if we're here, if we get to stay here and God doesn't come back and take us, we're going to have big revival. Now, what did he write? If you listen to the news, you will think that he's some bigot, some sexist. But if you read what he actually wrote in the memo, it paints a completely different story. So for those who like truth and evidence, let me read to you some statements he made. Quote, Google's left bias has created a politically correct monoculture that maintains its hold by shaming dissidents into silence. Now, this is the biggest internet company in the world, and this is their monoculture. Shaming into silence is the antithesis of psychological safety. In other words, the left is always saying, ooh, we want to have a safe space. I hear this even in the Australian public school. This mind-numbing, brainwash slogan, safe space. Well, who determines safe space? Who determines what's safe and what's not? You're saying you're better than the rest of us. You're saying you know what is a safe idea, what's not. So they say, we want to create this safe space. So how do they do it? They shame people who disagree with them, which is the very opposite of safe. It's unsafe. But they play with words. I'll explain to you the novel 1984 if you don't understand how it's really happening now. It's being fulfilled. It's not supposed to be a blueprint for the end time, but it seems to be. The media is now labeling James Damore as anti-diversity, saying sexist. He's a sexist. Is that really the intention of this memo? Quote, I'll go over some of the differences in the distribution of traits between men and women. And he talks like an engineer. Right? I mean, he's approaching this from a very meticulous, methodical way. So he says there are scientific research that shows the differences between men and women and why there are more men in tech than women. So let me go over some of these differences. And he lists some things which is proven in research that, for instance, women prefer people-facing jobs. Women prefer to be with people. Men, a lot of times, prefer to be with things and tasks. It's not a controversy. He's citing facts, and then he says, and then let's address how we can address them to increase women's representation in tech without resorting to discrimination. Is this a bigot? Is this a sexist? Not at all. He's saying, can we give people a leg up without discriminating? I mean, that's what the left claim they're about. And yet they're the most dangerous group of people. They're the most intolerant group of people. As soon as you voice something different, they'll fire you. They'll punish you. To achieve a more equal gender and race representation, Google has created several discriminatory practices. Such as what? Well, he's the insider. He's the leak. He's the WikiLeak of Google. So he said, Google has mentorship programs, classes that are paid for by Google, but only if you're of a certain gender or race. They give special treatment for diversity candidates. That means if you're white, you're out. Some of the Asians sitting here say, well, maybe that's not so bad, I'm not white. Well, guess what? If you're Asian, you're the most discriminated against. Because the statistics show that Asians have higher IQ, get better test scores in IT, and get more employed in Silicon Valley. And so we are the anti-diversity group. We need to be demoted. See, this is the twisted thinking when you don't look at people as individuals and look at them for their own merit. So they say, well, you're white and applying, so you get lower points. You're Asian and you're applying, you get even lower points. Because we want diversity. What's their diversity? Not diversity of thought. Their diversity is skin deep. It's racism. It's just reverse racism. Why is this popular again? Because the left has always been playing ideological or identity politics. The left is obsessed with race. And most people have gone away from that. That's how you cure racism, is you don't judge people by their skin color. He's exposed Google's hiring practices that lower the bar for diversity candidates. And so Google was upset with this leak. So now the joke is, it's not Google, it's Gulag. The Gulag was the Soviet Union's chief administration of corrective labor camps. That means you have the wrong thought, we send you off to Siberia, where nobody ever sees you again. It's the Gulag, isn't it? It's the digital Gulag. It's the tool of tyranny. It's the ministry of injustice. And Google can't hide behind, well, we're a private company because you're a monopoly. Most people have no other option to turn to. You control the information. You control people's personal data. You control people's searches. And I'm going to show you that. Stay with me in this video, in this teaching. Google is the most powerful internet company on earth. Nobody's ever been able to control data the way Google is able to. And if Jesus said there's going to be end-time deception, it has to involve manipulation and control of data. That means Jesus is pointing the finger right at Google. Most church members believe Google more than the Bible. And the pastors think this is irrelevant. When you say, let's have an end-time conference. Would you like to help host an end-time conference in your country? I'm coming to your country. And a lot of pastors say, I don't want to debate about rapture. Are you kidding? You think end time is about debating rapture? Whether you're right and I'm wrong, or somebody else is right and somebody else is wrong? We have bigger things to talk about. And before the church is completely defeated, which it won't be, but there will be a purging of the lukewarm, complacent church. The world will know who is the real church. Before then, I hope many pastors will wake up to the fact that end time is exactly what Jesus was excited about. He's excited. He talked about end times. The disciples were excited. They said, is this it? Can we wrap up? Good. Can I get to sit on your right hand and your left hand? What's that? End time. They thought it's over. So excited. And Jesus said, watch out for deception. And we're not aware of social media. We're not aware of what Google's doing. People don't even know what Google Memo is. How can you come to church and not hear about Google Memo? It's the biggest news that is prophetically relevant. What else can we talk about? The strangest thing about this is if you just simply ask, how does Google even make money? How did it become the multi-billion-dollar company that it is? It would expose the hypocrisy of the way that they treated James Damore. He said there are differences between men and women. Research bears this out. Well, how does Google make money? Through ads that target men and women differently. They're the best at it. In fact, it's on their website. When you try to get a Google ad going, AdWord, they will explain to you how you can target people because they have different behavior. They make different choices. It's called demographic targeting. Google doesn't mind when it comes to making millions of dollars, billions. Google doesn't mind differentiating between men and women, blacks and whites with targeted ads. It is dripping with irony and hypocrisy. So when you go to look, you see, they show you. See, well, who's going to see your ad? They say, don't worry. Your ad is for fitness. We'll make sure that we target it to people who are conscious of sports, but they have a way of figuring you out. In fact, there was an article, they said Google found to specifically target men over women when it comes to high-paid jobs. Quote, Google Advert platform is much more likely to show highly paid executive job vacancies to men than to women. Why? Because most men are more ambitious for status. Women would like good relationships. Men would like status. And so men are willing to stay and do boring jobs, longer hours, and dangerous jobs. And so Google targets the men. This is according to researchers from Carnegie Mellon University and the International Computer Science Institute using an ad tracking tool, an ad tracking software they call it AdFisher. So they just made up profiles of men and women, different ages, and they just wanted to see how Google would target people. In fact, Google displayed adverts for a career coaching service for $200,000 a year, executive jobs, 1,852 times to the male group and only 318 times to the female group. So a job that pays $200K plus is presented to more men. Google is very big, and Google controls a lot of things. Google controls YouTube. YouTube has a new naughty corner for controversial religious and supremacist videos. Did you know that? This was this week. YouTube has clarified how it plans to handle videos that don't violate any of its policies but still contain offensive religious and supremacist content. They're going to hide them and demonetize them. If you don't believe this, I went and got this from the YouTube official blog. Let me quote it to you. Here's their commitment. They say, our commitment to fight terror content online. So far, ISIS, beheadings, propaganda, not removed. But Christian things removed. Conservative things removed. Commentaries. How dangerous can commentaries be compared to beheading? Here's what they said. If we find that these videos don't violate our policies, but contain controversial religious or supremacist content, they will be placed in a limited state. It's an interesting word. Remember Newspeak, 1984, they make up words. The videos will remain on YouTube, but won't be recommended, won't be monetized, won't have key features including comments, suggested videos, and likes. Now, who defines what is a supremacist content? Do you believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life? Oh, you could be all supremacists. Jesus is supreme. You believe He's the true and living God. You're a supremacist? You could be. See, what's happened all this time is that conservative channels get harassed and persecuted, demonetized, and channels like us would write in and say, what policy have we violated? And guess what? We don't violate any policy. So they have to reinstate or they have to remonetize these videos. So then this month, coinciding with the American solar eclipse and the Revelation 12 sign that's coming, you know how people say nothing's happening? They must be blind. So many things are happening prophetically in line with the Word of God. And the signs are shouting out, pay attention. This month, they finally came up with the solution. Remember, like Hitler had a solution. They said, well, you might not violate any policy, but just in case they're potentially supremacists, we can do anything we want. Let me continue reading. Here's the early intervention expanding counter-extremism work. We've started rolling out features from Jigsaw's redirect method to YouTube. When people search for sensitive keywords on YouTube, they will be redirected. What's that? That's a new search preference. You're searching for one thing, they say, we know you're looking for that, but would rather give you this to look at. They will redirect you to what? A playlist of curated YouTube videos that directly confront and debunk violent extremist messages. We also continue to amplify YouTube voices speaking out against hate and radicalization through our YouTube Creators for Change program. It sounds so Orwellian. What's the Creators for Change program? Meaning, there are people on YouTube who get millions of dollars from YouTube. Did you realize that? They get camera, they get lights, they get studio. What do I get? Nothing. We do this on our own money. They get money to push left-wing cultural Marxist agenda. And guess what? They get more thumbs down than thumbs up. So what do they say? We're going to amplify. What does that mean? We're going to put them on the suggestion list. So you can't find the conservative videos unless you specifically look for them. But we will amplify, we'll promote. Since we're the monopoly, we can promote whoever we want. We promote these videos that can't even in a free market get enough thumbs up. It's a fact that left-wing channels get more thumbs down. It's a fact that the right is dominating on YouTube. It's a fact that the truth going out during the last election caused Trump to win. Even though the mainstream media was against him, the celebrities were against him, the politicians, both Republican and Democrats, were against him, Wall Street was against him. Now Google realized this free speech thing allowed people to see information we don't like. So we came up with a solution. Curated videos, pre-approved content, suggestions by us. And most people are not going to church, not listening to me. They're not going to know the difference. So I tried it out. Please listen to me, because nobody does this. They're not going on in public and showing you. Let me show you, and you can try it out. I typed into Google, and I'm using Bing, and I'm using DuckDuckGo and others, but I just went back to Google to show you. I type in terrible left-wing YouTube channels. Terrible left-wing YouTube channels. Could it be clearer? Here's what it shows. Comprehensive list of leftist YouTube channels. List of left-wing YouTube channels. Who are your most hated right-wing YouTube channels? Well, that's the opposite of what I just searched for. The most subscribed left-wing politics YouTube channels. That has nothing to do with my search keywords, which were terrible left-wing YouTube channels. Okay, maybe Google doesn't understand. Maybe they became dumb. So I retyped it. Left-wing YouTube channels, thumbs down. Okay, I want the headline. They get more thumbs down than thumbs up. So off I go and press search. Again, I get the same top 2 results, list of left-wing YouTube channels. It's not negative. In fact, they're promoting comprehensive list of leftist YouTube channels. Socialism are the key words. They're pushing socialism on me. Remember the English Socialist Party in 1984? So I said, okay, well, I typed it pretty clear. Let me scroll down. So I scroll down a little bit. Finally, I get to how social media stars are fighting for the left. Huh? Meet the millennials, content creators, stomping for the left. It's all pro-left. Top shows and channels on YouTube for progressives. I said thumbs down, not thumbs up. What are some good YouTube channels to learn about left-wing politics? That's in the top 10 results. That's number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9. Finally, I get an article for what I'm looking for, why the right is dominating YouTube. So I think, okay, maybe finally it's pro-conservative. I am mistaken. It says, the article, why the right is dominating YouTube. Okay, well, at least they admit the truth. And why the left needs to own the future of online video. So it's a hit piece. It's a clickbait. They use the title to get me sucked into something that is opposite of the content I'm searching for. So it's a total attack on Paul Joseph Watson. I'll read it. Paul Joseph Watson's tweet offers a sketch of the social media terrain that seems spot on. Twitter isn't wholly dominated by the left, but Donald Trump and anyone else with an egg avatar aside, left-wing views are certainly better represented there than any other major social network. So they're saying Twitter is for left-wingers. However, left-wing Twitter has failed to translate it into real-world influence. Twitter conversations aren't very accessible. Skip a little bit. On YouTube, by contrast, left-wing voices are seemingly non-existent. No, they exist. People don't like them, despite the money they get from George Soros and YouTube and Google. Apart from that communist child, while right-wing voices dominate, Paul Joseph Watson himself is one, standing in front of his little world map. What is that? What, a world map? How big can it be to fit a screen? Shouting at the internet from his room. His mentor, Alex Jones, the conspiracy theorist who likes to whip himself into a frenzy by thinking about secret documents, is another. But it's not just InfoWars. There is a whole ecosystem of right-wing YouTubers out there. It's a hit piece. I can't even get the right result in the top 10. So then I said, okay, I can't get it wrong now. I'm going to type most hated political YouTube channels. Can I now get the result that I want? And the result is, who are your most hated right-wing YouTube channels? MetaTag Socialism. What are some of the best political YouTube channels? Total promotion for left-wing brainwashing. Top 10 controversial YouTube channels. So they're saying Alex Jones and the conservatives are hated? No, they're not. They're getting more thumbs up than the left-wingers are. So that's number 1. Number 2, number 3. I scroll down to number 8. 5 feminist YouTube channels to follow. What was my key word? Most hated political YouTube channels. And the result? You think something wrong with their algorithm? This is deception. They recommend to people 5 feminist YouTube channels to follow. Why? Because they're not popular. Here's the CEO of YouTube meeting with an ultra-left cultural Marxist channel, the Young Turks. Is she egalitarian? Is she diversity, pro-diversity in thought and ideology? I haven't seen her sit with any Christian. I'm a Christian. Susan, invite me. Let's talk. Let's be fair and balanced. But you're not pro-diversity. You're only looking at skin color. Then you censor people who disagree with you. So it's news everywhere. YouTube will hide but not remove some supremacist videos. This is the book burning of the digital age, and it has begun. And the left has this history, a long track record of burning books of people they don't agree with. This is why freedom of speech became enshrined in the First Amendment in the Constitution of America. It's because it's such a uniquely Western problem. You say, well, Asians censor and all that. Yeah, but we're not so concerned about such political censorship. People aren't that way in most Asian countries that I see. But here, if you say something that's not the approved opinion, they want to use the force of law against you. They want to fine you. They want to ostracize you and put peer pressure on you. So here they are, Alex Jones with a cover, Thought Crime. No free speech. Paul Joseph Watson being gagged. Alternative media TV. YouTube wages war against alternative media. They're restricted, in restricted state. They cannot be found when people search. Here's Mark Dice. YouTube's new censorship will creep you out. This is an Orwellian purge of Christians and conservatives. Gab, now this is now going to hit the money, hit the pocket. Gab AI is a conservative alternative to Twitter's. They started only, I think, last year, and they got lots of followers. Breaking news. Google has removed Gab's Android app from Google Play Store for hate speech. It's gone. So you develop a platform that is a competitor to the monopoly, and they just press a button and say, see you later. The deception is tyrannical. It's dictatorial. It is on Orwellian stage now. And they wrote a letter to Gab. What's hate speech? Saying that maybe Europe would be safer if there were less Muslim immigrants coming in, uneducated, young military-age men. We don't see a lot of real refugees. Usually you have women and children among the refugees. You don't see that very much. That's now considered hate speech. Remember, that's not approved by the Mini-True, the Ministry of Truth. Patreon has censored one of the most popular female voices. Remember, they're supposed to be pro-female. There are females who are really famous. Lauren Southern, a young lady, not allowed to receive money via PayPal, GoFundMe, or Patreon. What are they doing? They're cutting you off at the wallet. Imagine if this is your life, this is how you earn money. Suddenly, no more ability to receive payment. In fact, this week, conservative websites have been totally just deactivated by GoDaddy. Gone. All they have to say is, we think that you might potentially be supremacists. It's getting very dangerous. The church needs to wake up and make our voice heard. And we need to pray more seriously. Now, Revelation 13, when I read it to you, will make perfect sense. Imagine this was 2,000 years ago. Wouldn't have been possible to control information at this level or control buying and selling. People traded in bartering in gold and silver. How could you control people? Until now. Revelation 13, verse 15. Speaking of one of the Antichrists, there are two. It's called the beast. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So you got CGI happening here. I talked about that already, about the false image of the beast. You can buy that and learn about it while they haven't controlled our ability to trade. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand and on their foreheads. Twitter has followed this censorship train. Mark Dice is not allowed to support his view. He says, Twitter just made me delete a post of a meme that said there are only two genders. Wait, I thought that's science. There are only two genders. Here's one of those memes. Actual genders, male and female. All the others used to be called by the American Medical Association mental disorders. You're born one way, but you think you're trapped in the body and you think another way, and it's changing even week to week, these thoughts. It's called gender dystopia. It's a medical condition. But you're not allowed to say that because 1984 Orwellian English socialism.